Inside his office, Mirosław Kaznowski, a 36-year-old activist for the local Green Party and owner of a marketing company, shows me boxes and boxes of medicines, clothes and food donated by residents and businesses. He's part of a network of people in the town of Grodzisk, about 20 miles away from Warsaw, organising supplies to Ukraine. I've had nothing but support from people, he says. If I need something, there's a queue of people offering to help me. Faced with its largest refugee crisis since the Second World War, ordinary Poles and local authorities have cobbled together an impressive nationwide grassroots effort to help their neighbours in need. People have driven hundreds of miles to the border to offer rides to refugees. Fire stations and school gyms across the country are filled with camp beds offering temporary accommodation. Thousands of Poles have opened their homes to women and children with nowhere to stay. The government has rushed through a law allowing Ukrainian refugees the right to live and work in Poland for up to 3 years. They will also get access to benefits, free healthcare and education. Poles who host refugees will get help with their additional costs. The reaction is in stark contrast to the treatment the mostly Middle Eastern migrants and refugees who tried to cross into Poland from Belarus last year received. European Union leaders accused Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko of creating a crisis by allowing refugees and migrants to enter Belarus without a visa and then helping them cross into Poland illegally. In response, the Polish government passed legislation giving border guards the right to push migrants that had done so back into Belarus. Rights groups said Poland was violating its international law commitments because anyone seeking international protection must be given access to asylum. Surveys found that a majority of people in Poland supported the government's policy at the time. Mirosław believes that the crisis Poland is facing now is more clear-cut for many because the refugees are women and children fleeing a war to which they can relate. Us Poles know about Russian oppression, and a lot of us feel what's happening to them could be happening to us. It's sad that the government and some people here make that distinction, he says, but the reality is Poles feel greater empathy for Ukrainians because of the strong cultural and historical connections. Among the refugees is 39-year-old Viktoriya Trush and her 2 children, who are now staying with Mirosław's father, following a 3-day car journey from their home in Żółte Wody in central Ukraine. When the war started, my family couldn't do anything. We just sat around watching the news. We didn't eat or sleep, she says. After a few days, she resolved to start helping people, finding food, clothes and medicines for the needy. Viktoriya had worked in Poland as a carer for Mirosław's disabled brother, and she put him in contact with Liudmyla, a Ukrainian friend living in Poland with contacts across Europe. They started collecting humanitarian supplies and organising vans to deliver them across the border. A local mayor used his contacts in the Netherlands to deliver a truck of ammunition and laptops. Now Viktoriya and Liudmyla are prioritising the search for fuel, bulletproof vests, helmets, drones and flares for Ukraine's fighters, including Viktoriya's 53-year-old husband, a corn farmer, who has volunteered for the Territorial Defence Force. He told her to take the children to Poland. As a mother, at least she knows they are safe now, she says, even if she cannot help worrying about her husband and parents back home. She prefers not to dwell on the awful possibilities and is keeping herself busy enrolling her children in school. A fee-paying kindergarten has offered to take her 3-year-old daughter free of charge. The Poles have been incredible, she says, so kind and helpful, but she acknowledges that attitudes towards Ukrainians could change over time. Mirosław agrees. There's a sense of unity amongst Poles now, he says, but it's superficial and may not last. He said he wouldn't be surprised if this wave of support in society and across the political spectrum begins to fray as time passes and more Ukrainians arrive. But that's the future. A future that Viktoriya, who loves structure in her life and hates not knowing what her next steps will be, knows all too well is uncertain. While in Poland, she wants to help Mirosław run his new charity to support Ukraine's path towards the European Union. I want to build a better Ukraine, she says. That's my biggest dream. That's my biggest dream. That's my biggest dream. That's my biggest dream.